Get ready to feel.
The power.
That's Colin Crandall, myself, Adam Roorda. We have another episode coming at you here of MMA Power Hour. This is in the wonderful city of Los Angeles, this studio that we're sitting in right now, right in Third Wheel Podcast Studios, right in the heart of Hollywood. It's actually a pain in the butt getting down here, man.
Yes, it is. You're getting a taste of what I got when I would get to the studio where you were at normally. And yeah, it's
Now I get an even better taste in a couple weeks when I move up right down the street from you, huh?
That's right. You couldn't stay away, man. The dynamic duo together again, but living even closer.
You
So
can pull the mic away a little bit, actually. There, Mike.
there we go.
There you go.
There
We
we
called
go.
you Mike
That's
because of the
okay.
mic in front of your face,
That's
Colin.
something I usually do. Someone says a name and then I use it on whoever's near me. So, taking a page in my own book. But anyway, yeah, we're over here in the heart of Hollywood. It's something to behold, to say the least. It's got its good and its bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And hopefully we will be the good and the bad, but maybe not too much of the ugly here. But that's a matter of perspective, I guess. Anyway,
The good, the bad, and the ugly, and we are beholden to Hollywood. So everybody out there, just be aware if we are in the middle of an interview with a guest, we would love for you guys to ask questions. We want to pop questions off, and we'll do that if you drop a tip over on our YouTube channel on the Hannibal TV. Drop a tip there, and we will make note of that and make sure to ask the question. If we get hit with too many questions and too many tips at once, just be aware we'll fit in whatever we can, where and when we can. If not, we'll get you an answer later and try to shoot off a text or something. But we'll always get things answered for you. And you guys are absolutely amazing. Make sure to head on over to lithtoken.io when you get a chance. It's a cryptocurrency all about sustainability, about to do some really huge things in partnerships with another company called 4D Fun, doing amazing things in the world of the metaverse. It's the big word that everybody's using right now. So definitely head on over lithtoken.io. I am the blockchain architect, and I'm also an MMA Power Hour contributor. So pretty cool, Colin.
yes, it
I get to do
is.
both.
You are a man of many talents and a jack of all trades and a master of several of them as well. That Lith token is great. If you get the Lith token, more than likely you won't have to be saying IO too much more in your life as you go to lithtoken.io.
Well,
And
no speculation here on my behalf, but I wouldn't be surprised.
that's right. Good things are happening. A lot of
Absolutely.
people are lending their name to the Lith token, so it's a good thing. And the metaverse, once you get into the Lith token, you can swim more freely in the metaverse. Right now, our producer Harrison is swimming in the metaverse as he operates the boards. Right, Harrison?
I was over there swimming.
How
He
is the
says
water?
yes.
Is the water pretty warm? Yep, water's good, man. So then what do we have? There's our third wheel studio over here in Los Angeles, the only place where it actually is warm and cozy to be the third wheel and everyone likes you instead of wishes you were gone. So third wheel studio in Los Angeles.
And we've got our guest in the waiting room, it looks like, so we're ready whenever.
Let's do it. Let's bring him in. James, can you hear me? James, can you hear me?
I can. I can't see you though. Where are you at?
No
There we
problem. Okay, you see me there? All right. And then let's see if I can see James. We're getting the split screens. We got all kinds of good stuff. We're in the studio in the heart of Hollywood, James, a place that a lot of people hate, but nevertheless, it's got good technology as far as for interviewing and studio. So anyway, let me give you a proper introduction since we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have this next guest on the show, an amazing fighter in the UFC welterweight division, and not only that, but a coach of an amazing team in Missouri Glory MMA. We're talking about the man they call the James Krause. Welcome to the show, James.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. It's good to talk to you. It's been an interesting couple of years in the pandemic. In the first pandemic year, you were in action like crazy. And in the second pandemic year, you were really all about coaching your team. Was that on purpose as far as your focus, or were there just things that just didn't come through as far as fights for you last year?
It's just become less and less important to me. I think fighting's kind of been pushed to the wayside. I mean, at some point you got to be done, right? Like 35 years old.
Yep.
I've been fighting for 15 years. I think October was my 15th year. I have like pro and amateur. I probably have like 70 something fights.
Mm-hmm.
At some point you got to be done. You know what I mean? I don't know when that is. I'm not saying, hey, I'm done, but I've just kind of pulled back on it. I think we have like 17 or 18 guys now in the UFC. So I've really tried to just focus more on that and revert my attention to that side of things.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So no announcement as of yet, but definitely leaning toward doing the coaching. And the good thing is that's for sure where your future will be. Everyone's got a shelf life on their fighting career, but you could be 70 and still be, running
Yeah.
Glory MMA. So let me ask you, I was thinking about who, aside from you, was known as a really high level UFC fighter and also a coach. And there's not very many. What comes to mind initially was Uriah Faber most recently. And then I think before him, it really was like going back 20 years to when Pat Miletich was running his school and fighting, and Ken Shamrock was running his school and fighting. So it really hasn't been done much. It's just really, really rare. What made you interested in doing that? And did you have confidence right off the bat that it would work out? And in the beginning, was it tough? Was there ever any point that you were saying when you were 30 or 28, you know what, I'm going to have to stop this crazy coaching shit because I got to focus on my thing? Or what was the what was the path for you leading up to this coaching?
I've been coaching people for probably 13 years, way before I should have been, you know what I mean? Like, but in Kansas City, there just wasn't a lot of options. So it was like, it's kind of a thing like, if somebody had 2 years experience on you at the time, that's a lot. So I've been coaching people just underneath me for a long time. And I just kind of formalized it probably 8 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And started putting real structure around my coaching and real structure around the fighters. And like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm just now starting to get a little bit more recognition for it. So it's nothing new to me. I'm a natural leader and coach, and that's always kind of, I've just always gravitated to those roles, and yeah. So I don't, like I said, it's hard for me to, whenever somebody asks me like, well, how did you start? Like, I just kind of started, I just kind of did it. And, it really just blossomed into something bigger than I ever thought it would, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And it's really taken off.
Absolutely. Now, was there ever a time that you were kind of thinking about the opposite? Like, gosh, I don't know if I can keep on doing this coaching when I want to fight, or were you always able to find a happy blend and balance?
No, I've always, if anything, it's been the opposite. Like, I've pushed my fighting career back to coach more. You know what I mean? Like, I've taken less and less fights over the years, just because, like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's important, when a fighter, they say, "Hey, man, like, you're my coach." Like, I kind of, I'm obligated to that person. I've spent my time, so their career comes in front of mine. Just because, dude, if I don't ever fight again, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm set. I'm
Nice.
good financially. I don't have to fight. And it's not even a big deal to me if I don't, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? So it's just I've just always focused more on the guys, and I have my own career. That's just, for whatever reason, I've always done that.
Absolutely, and and it's good to know that. I'd like to hear fighters are in a good position, and the coaching is a great thing. And your team and you have gotten a better reputation as time goes by. Like, a lot of people now, you'll even hear the UFC commentators say, "Hey, this guy's over there with James Krause. Those guys know what they're doing. There's a game plan. They know who they're fighting. They know what their guy needs." And so that's got to be a good feeling when you see, your team given credit and you being given credit like that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, those guys, here, DC and Dom and Bisping, and those guys mention my name. It's great. It's confirmation that we're doing the right things. You know what I mean? And if 18 people in the UFC hasn't done that already, and we're, like I said, we're a small team outside of Kansas City. Like, nobody moves here for the weather. It's cold as shit right now. So
Right.
it's we have a good program, and we have a really good culture here. We have a really good team, and I think we work really hard, man. I think we work really hard. I think the structure is really good, and I think we change things up often. And yeah, it's nothing crazy, bro. It's really not. It's there's a saying that we have. I think it's from Chop Wood, Carry Water. The book's called Chop Wood, Carry Water, and we kind of just use it as our mantra. It's nothing sexy. It's just dirty hard work.
I like that.
Kind of, we implement the blue collar mentality.
I like that. Now, are there criteria that you look for in fighters? You being a fighter at the highest level, it's got to give you kind of an insight on things. And are you always looking for someone in a way that kind of checks the boxes that you check personally? Not that I'm trying to say you're
Yeah.
holding yourself as any big ego or anything, but how do you do that? Do you just take from what you are when you look for fighters, or just a little bit of that and maybe
No.
some different things?
Yeah. So when I look for somebody, I don't even really. We just like recently started like recruiting more. I guess the
Right.
word, like, most of our guys are homegrown, man. Like,
Right. You're not really looking, just when guys come to you, you could say.
yeah,
Yeah.
like most of the guys I've had, of 18, I think I probably have like 10 to 12 that I've had since inception or close to it,
Mm-hmm.
or guys like I don't know, Derek Minner is one that come to mind, where like we've kind of reinvented his career a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just things like that, man. Like, so I don't really look for. You don't have to have a certain style. I can teach all kinds of different styles. I'm a student of the game. I can get better at that. I just want effort, hard work, passion, and a little bit of obsession, crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to be fucking crazy to want to fight somebody every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, these are the things that I look for. I want hard workers, man, because I wasn't talented when I started. I just wasn't. It's hard for these young guys to understand that like, I wasn't some anomaly. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, I wasn't, just it didn't work like that. I worked really hard, and I trained 2 or 3 times more than most of the people next to me, and
Right.
that's just how I got good.
Right, absolutely. I know that old saying that hard work beats talent that doesn't work hard all the time. And so that's important. It's a good Midwest quality. Are you from the Midwest? You from out there in Kansas City area yourself, or where about?
I was raised probably 45 minutes from where I'm at right now.
Nice. So you really know it well. Are you finding there's some guys around Missouri that have come to you, or is it mostly outside of Missouri or outside the Midwest? Or are there certain areas where you have more of your guys from than
It's
others?
both. It's a good mix of both. We've had like a huge influx of Texas lately for whatever reason, and it's not the same place. It's like
Right.
Houston, Dallas, Colin, some other places. We've had like 6 or 7 guys from Texas come, and but some of our guys are homegrown from KC. Like Jeff Molina. Jeff Molina came to my gym. His professional record was 1-2 when he came to my gym,
Oh wow.
and he's from Kansas City. He trained with one of my coaches at the time, Jason High. And that's not a shot on Jason. It was just poor matchmaking, in my opinion. He was fighting some really good D1 wrestlers that he had no business fighting quite yet.
Right.
He just wasn't developed in that area. But that's just a perfect example of like, kind of like fight IQ. You know what I mean? On the coaching side of things.
Right.
And I don't want, like I said, I'm not throwing Jason on the bus, but I think if we were faced with those decisions now, I think he would make different decisions for his guy.
Yeah.
So he's a great example. Grant Dawson came to me 0-0 as a pro, and now he's, I don't know, what is he, 17, 1-1 or something like that?
Yeah,
I
he's
think.
been killing it.
So we have 19 fights together. Kroom and I have been fighting together since, dude, he's from my area. Him and I started the same year. I think I had like 6 months on him, and I've been coaching him for long time, man, long time. And you know what? It really hasn't been that long now that I think about it, but we've been training together for a long time.
Right. And I know you have Zach. Zach Cummings is from KC or the area, isn't he?
Yeah. So we just come up together. He's he has his own gym up north, about 40 minutes from mine, and he's there quite a bit. We came up together, so he's been fighting just as long as I have.
Very cool. Now, do you have people that are at another gym, or how about this? Because I know that when you have the bigger established gyms, usually people don't go between those. You're not going to see someone training at ATT and then training once in a while with you, or training at AKA and then training once in a while at Elevation or anything like that. But once in a while, I know you have guys from a small city somewhere where they're the only known fighter, but then they'll say, but when I'm in town, I will train over at Glory, or I will train over at ATT, or I will, does that happen? Can you allow that if someone is with their small gym sometimes and then can be with you other times? Or how
it
does that work?
happens, and I don't like it.
No. Okay.
Yeah, man, there's like I'm gonna use my guy Dakota Bush as an example, and I love Dakota. He's amazing, and we just had a discussion about this. Is the only reason I even bring it up.
Right.
But he knows he needs to live here. Now he's got a family. You can't just pick up a family of kids in school. So it's not that easy. And people
Right.
think it is, but it's not.
No.
So we're trying to get steps towards that. You know what I mean? And that's sometimes it's not always rapid. So, but he comes and he spends a month with us and he gets so much better in that month. Like, it's just like, it gets way better. So we're trying to get him, to where he can either be here more or move here or whatever. That's just one example of 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I saw you, it's got to be 4 years ago now, at the fight where Sean Woodson, I think, had his first UFC fight. It was in Boston, I think. Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. And I still remember that time when you were sitting there on the stage. It was a real small group of maybe 8 or 9 media people. And then one good guy said to Sean, so what would you say Shamrock FC has done for you? Right, remember? And he said, Shamrock FC hasn't done shit for me.
Yeah.
To get something like, what have they done to help you with get your career to where it is? And he said, I haven't done shit to get my career.
Yeah.
That was funny. I remember that you fell back on the stage, I think.
I was rolling.
Yeah, that was classic. But he's an amazing guy, man. I forget who it was, but I heard one UFC commentator see him and say, man, that guy looks like an alien, the way that guy's body is, But
he's awkwardly long, man. He's good. He's a talented kid.
Yeah, he really is. He grinds and he's slick, man. So you got some great fighters. So speaking of which, and I know we can't keep you too much longer, but who do you have coming up in any fights in the upcoming soon? Sorry to put you on the spot if you're not sure.
Yeah, no. Let me look. I'll tell you who I have. Up next is Jason Witt.
Nice.
We have a kid on Fury. He's an amateur, but he's really good. 25er. His name's Michael White. He's tough. Like I say, he's an amateur, but he's really good. He'll be really good. Okay. We just had 4 in this last weekend. We have Jason Witt. Then we have Tim Elliott. After that, Mike Breeden, Gina. I know Carl Roberson.
Nice.
And then I know Trey just won on looking for a fight. He'll get on deck soon. I know Onama's on deck as well. We have quite a few, man. And then we have our show, FAC, which we have. So FAC is my show on UFC Fight Pass, and that's February 6th. Dana is actually looking for a fight on it this time. And we have a lot of our younger prospects on that. There's a kid named Isaac Bulgarian that is really, really talented. He'll be in the UFC soon. Another guy named Mikey England. That's really tough. We have the co-main event is ex-Bellator champ Dudu Dantas. Mm-hmm. He's fighting a Contender Series kid, Jose Alday.
Nice. Tell us.
Get a good card.
Cool. Tell us what FAC stands for. I haven't heard of that promotion. It's on UFC
Fighting Alliance Championships.
Okay, and that's your promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And is it usually held over in KC or what?
Probably 7 minutes down the road.
Nice. And then you're on UFC Fight Pass. That's awesome. I didn't know you had that going, man. So you got all kinds of hats going. You got promoter, coach, manager, trainer, fighter. So for your fighters, are you dealing with like Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard to get their fight set up? I imagine you are, right?
So 95% of my team is managed by Iridium.
That's
sports
right.
agency.
Okay.
But I work hand in hand with those guys regularly on my guys. I have a great relationship with Sean and Mick, and we kind of just tag team everything, So yeah, and I see those guys every weekend at the fights, so it's great. It's easy for me to work while I'm there, and we talk, and I just sit and talk with Sean and Mick for probably a half hour on Friday at weigh-ins.
Very cool. And I guess once in a while they'll say to you, "Are you open to jumping in?" And then you'll usually say,
Sean just brought it up to me.
Did he? Nice. Did they mention any names or anything?
Nah, I don't. The problem is like I have I have to be able to have like a training camp, and
right.
I just like my schedule is February, like I could January 29th, February 5th, February 13th. Leomano Martinez is in there. I forgot about that in Houston, February 13th. And it's just like there's never, like I've done, I think I did 8 weeks in a row not too long ago, and then I did like 9 out of 11 weeks or 10 out of 11 weeks or something. It just never stops. So it's just like it would be hard for me. That's why I'm doing all the short notice stuff, because it does. I just show up and fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. By the way, you mentioned Tim Elliott, man. He's a Missouri guy, isn't he?
Mhm.
He's such a tough guy, man. I gotta say, like every time,
He's
like
not a Missouri guy. I shouldn't say he's a Kansas guy, but
okay,
he's from this area.
that area, right.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I was always looking at him to win. He was a little bit younger, and I think a lot of people were like, man, this guy's a killer. Now that it's 5 years later, I think a lot of people will say, damn, this is a tough fight for Tim Elliott. I don't know if he can. And then all of a sudden he comes through. It's just like the
Yeah.
dude just doesn't give up. He's a little bit older, but and especially the lighter weight you are, the older you are, the tougher it is,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But
He's fighting Tagiru Limbekoff, and March 6th. It's a young prospect kid, and people are gonna think I'm crazy, but everybody respects this kid a lot. But I think it's a great matchup for us.
yeah, I believe it. Tim is he's such a veteran. When you have someone that's such a veteran like that, like yourself, do you need to do much coaching in the corner? Does he ask for? I mean, it's got to be very different from when you have someone that's like making their UFC debut. But with a veteran like
everybody's
that,
different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. So I have all my fighters take a personality test. So like I kind of know how to navigate through them, if they're left brain, right brain, how they respond, how they react. Tim is I say this with Tim, nobody can control Tim.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't control him. He's a wild man, and that's what makes him so great. So for me, I don't try to control Tim. I try to be his tour guide. Imagine that you're guiding somebody through, where they need to go, where all the cool sites. You got a national park, there's eagle nest to the left.
Mhm.
You're not going to tell everybody to look to the right. You're going to say, hey man, this nest over here is to the left. You just look to the left over here. You're going to see some really cool stuff. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I approach Tim. It's more about making good decisions and positionally and knowing when to turn it off and on, and fight IQ, different things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think we may be down to where I want to ask the last question. Yep, this is about the time we had prepared for. So would you say when it comes to being able to analyze fights or pick winners, that if you are someone that's fought at a high level in the UFC, it's going to give you a huge advantage on having a better idea who the winner of a fight is going to be?
Me specifically or in general?
How about both?
Me specifically, yes.
Okay.
In general, no.
Okay. Probably because you're a coach. Go ahead.
Correct. People get too emotionally attached, and they don't think logically. They think emotionally. B, people don't understand. Just because you know it doesn't mean you can coach it.
Right.
And sometimes people don't understand stylistic matchups. You know what I mean? They think, oh man, this guy's really, really good. There's no way that this guy that's not as good can beat him. Well, maybe the guy that's not as good that can beat him just so happens to be a D1 wrestler with him as cardio.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's always scenarios like that. Like for example, Giga and Calvin Kattar. Like nobody thought Calvin was going to win that fight.
Right.
And Calvin did what he can do, and he's walked him down and disrespected his space. And it's like, and I'll be honest, I didn't pick him to win. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But there's things like that happen often. And people, high level people don't understand
some of the nuances. Right.
They're really important.
Yeah, makes sense. Can I get a quick 10-second opinion on 3 matchups from you?
Yeah, go man. Shoot, we're good. We're good.
I appreciate you. Really appreciate you. Okay, coming up this Saturday, the big one, Francis Ngannou against Cyril Gane. Before you answer that, the fact that they trained together for a while, how relevant is that to this fight, do you think?
Very, very relevant. They know each other's secrets. You know what I mean? Like, what makes them tick, what hurts them. Like I know all my guys, and in my gym, I know all my guys' stuff. Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like I know some stuff that is like, if this information was shared, it could be a really big problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how it goes. So, but that can work both ways too. So my prediction on that is like, I want to pick Cyril Gane. I think he's the better fighter.
Yeah.
But Francis has the eraser, man. I don't know. That's a really tough one for me. Gun to my head, I guess I'm going to go Gane, but
right.
I don't feel great about that pick at all.
I'm with you. Otherwise, on the fence, and I think most of us are. It's going to be definitely an interesting fight to see, and both big men, and it's going to be, going to be a trip. The co-main event, third fight between Brandon Moreno against Davidson Figueiredo. Before you give me your thought on that, one of my thoughts is Moreno proved he's the better more experienced grappler. But then all of a sudden you have Figueiredo going to train at Fight Ready with Henry Cejudo, gold medalist. I mean, who better if you really want to learn some wrestling, and you're a smaller guy than Henry Cejudo, but can just like 4 months with Henry Cejudo all of a sudden make Davidson Figueiredo a better grappler than Marino, or even that much different from who he was before. What's your thought on that in the overall fight?
It'll help. It'll
Okay.
help.
Okay.
It'll help with that. It'll help with his confidence. But no, I don't think 4 months is not long enough, in my opinion. I don't want to make it seem like that. It's like it's impossible.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like the odds of it making a huge difference are not very good. And I'll be honest. I think Marino has his number.
Yeah.
I think he's figured him out. He's not afraid of him. I think he's taking his best shot. And that's the biggest thing with Figueiredo is his power, right?
Yeah.
And I think the longer the fight goes, the better for Moreno.
Yeah, I think so too. Moreno's such a cool dude. His story's so interesting. Getting booted, coming in when he was kind of too young in the UFC, looking good until they brought him up against the better guys, not quite making over that hump, getting booted out, working his way back in, and just with a really good attitude coming through. He seems like he's a good guy. All right, third one I'm really most interested in your breakdown, and that's about 5 weeks away. It's a fight almost everyone's talking about in the lightweight division. Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev. I'd really love to hear your breakdown with your experience and knowledge, because there's so much talk, and I'd love to hear what you think the possibilities of the way the fight plays out might be, and who you give the edge to.
I mean, my natural tendency is to lean towards Islam. I don't think it's going to be this big shutout like everybody thinks it's going to be, though.
Agreed.
Dariush is a very, very good grappler. He's got some power. Good wrestler, good cardio. He's got it all. He's a total package. He kicks well. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
I do see Islam winning that fight. Is that the main event? Is that 3 or 5?
It's got to be. It's got to be the main. It's 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5. Yeah.
Yeah. I see Islam winning that. But I don't think it's going to be just some shutout like everybody thinks it's going to be. I could see Dariush causing some big problems for Islam, and if Dariush won, it would not be a complete shocker to me. But I don't think it's going to be this big walkthrough like everybody thinks it is. I think Islam is going to win. I don't want to say convincingly, and I say this like I'm kind of like contradicting myself. I wouldn't be surprised if he won every round, but I don't think the rounds are going to be these blowout rounds. I think they'll be semi close. Islam may positionally get them. I wouldn't be surprised if Dariush. What's crazy, man? I wouldn't be surprised if Dariush guillotined him. And like Islam's been knocked out before. Let's not act like this dude's invincible. He's not Khabib.
Right.
Everybody's comparing. He's not Khabib.
Right.
He's not.
Right.
And I am picking him to win. I think he will win. I don't think it's just going to be this walk in the park. And if you told me Dariush wins, it would not surprise me in the least bit.
I agree, and they have it at like a 3-1 odds, and I think that's way too high. I think there's definitely value on Dariush there. I just thought of a last quick one. Charles, I appreciate it. Charles Oliveira, super impressive. Did you expect he would do that well against Dustin, or did you think that was going to be a closer fight?
I picked Dustin to win, but anytime, and I've said this about Oliveira. And this is what's so interesting about him is he's one of the very few fighters in the UFC that has dangerous grappling standing.
Right.
And that's what people don't talk about enough. And that's if he can get your back standing or guillotine standing, there's big problems. And you can't slip up on the dude, man. He's really good grappler. He's a really good striker, and he's really turned this corner with his mental, I think. I thought Dustin would kind of mentally break him.
Yeah. And
that was not the case at all. He showed some real grit against Michael Chandler, some real grit against Poirier, and he's tough, man. He's gonna be really tough to beat. I think there's some guys that can get him out of there though at lightweight, and he's dangerous. His danger factor is super, super high. What's crazy is like the toughest guy in the division, I think, for him is Gaethje. I think that's the toughest matchup for him.
And that should be next.
And Yeah, it should be. And I see Gaethje beating him.
Yeah, I feel that way too. If Charles was going to not avoid Gaethje, but if he was going to do something either before or after Gaethje, and it was to move divisions, because he mentioned that he said he thinks he could go down to 45 again, or he thinks he could go up to 70. As a coach, if you were his coach, which would you say would be the better and the worst choice, or would they both be bad choices?
Shit, he's the champion at 55. What else you want, man?
Right,
Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, what we like, unless you're going for like a double champ type thing.
Right, if he
I don't
was,
see him
yeah.
beating Usman. Yeah,
Not-
I don't see him beating Usman at 45. Volkanovski, you put him in those situations that Brian Ortega was just in.
Be interesting, huh?
Things could get interesting.
Just the weight cut's going to be tough as it always was. He's only older than he was when it was tough.
I just
before.
don't see a reason for it, man.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't even cleaned. Let's talk about this later when he's cleaned out his division. He hasn't even cleaned. We got some really good guys. You know, he's got Gaethje, and then he'll have Islam Dariush, and then there's always somebody up the shoot. You know, he has not cleaned out that division yet. You know,
correct,
what I mean? Not
correct.
even close.
There's good guys. Gregor Gillespie is there, and
Gillespie's there.
Yeah, a bunch of good people. Excellent.
There's some really good guys there.
For sure. I appreciate it. Well, James, tell us again, what's the name of your promotion? FAC, what does that stand for?
Fighting Alliance Championship
Excellent.
on UFC Fight Pass.
And what do you do? Go maybe 2 events? No, maybe like one event every 2 months or something like that?
Yeah, we do 5 to 7 events a year.
Awesome. And you've got guys coming up. Is there a page for Glory MMA for people to support your team or anything on social media?
So just the gym. We don't really have like a fight team page, which that's actually a really good idea. Maybe we should make that. I don't know. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
But if you follow me, I always post about my guys that are fighting. So that's my shameless plug. But yeah, I always post about all of our team that has matches coming up, and yeah.
And are you at the James Krause on pretty much all social media?
Yep.
Awesome. James, really appreciate you, man. Big fan of yours for a long time.
Sure.
And your team, man. I love seeing a guy coach that's a fighter, because you've been there, you've done that. You can still mix it up with the guys. And you learn when you teach, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's why I started doing it. It's really helped me a lot, breaking down fights, understanding matchups, understanding positions, all that stuff.
Any thought about doing commentary anytime soon, or are you doing it for FAC?
I have, no, not for FAC. I have done it for the UFC. I've done the desk for the UFC. I tried out for a commentary thing. It's just really tough with coaching. Those guys want to book out 3 months in advance, and I can't really do that. You know, it's really tough for me to do that because I have my guys, and they take precedent over any of that other stuff.
That makes sense. It's good to hear, but I could definitely see you doing that down the line, man. Keep up the great work, man. I'm glad to hear things are going well for you. You've grinded for a long, long time. You've helped out so many people, man. You're one of the good guys of MMA and the UFC. No problem. Really appreciate you, brother. Thanks for joining us here in the MMA Power Hour.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
You got it. Take care. And that was the James Krause. Really good guy. I always like to hear that someone is in a good position. He's really worked hard. And I know coming up, there were times where I'm sure he had to do another job, just like a lot of fighters, and didn't have next month's rent. And it's
Right.
nice to hear that he's doing good.
Right.
You know, and that he doesn't even have to go back to fighting. You know, I thought for a minute he was actually going to possibly
That's the
announce.
name of the grind when you're really out there and you get put through that position.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you're going to come out where he's at, as long as you just keep going.
Yeah.
You know, I've experienced that too. And
Without a doubt.
we have.
Yep. And he's there in Missouri. You spent several years in Missouri.
Yep.
And it's pretty cool over there. It's kind of interesting to think that they have a big fight team around Kansas City, isn't it? I think they're the only one. They're probably the only fight team.
No, there's quite a few.
Are there? Maybe not too many that have too many UFC fighters.
Right,
though.
right.
You know, there's gyms, yeah. But as far as a big gym, you know, like California has got like several in Northern California, several in
there's
Southern.
a couple decent. Yeah, there's a couple.
I think
gyms
Glory
there,
MMA probably would be
they're
the biggest. They would be the
big
biggest
one, yeah,
for sure. And it's cool that he has his own organization as well. So very cool to hear UFC Fight
He
Pass.
actually reminds me of a much calmer Caveman Rickles.
Yes, and they're both Missouri guys.
Yes.
I should ask him if he knows
Well, Rickles
him.
is Kansas, isn't he?
Yes, that's right. Casey,
Yeah,
Kansas.
Yeah, you're getting mixed up with Kansas and Missouri. Because
Right, because
Kansas
Tim Elliott was a Kansas guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I should
yeah.
remember that. Yeah. What a tough grinder, man. That Tim Elliott doesn't give up. To be like 35 as Elliott is, and to be a flyweight and still be killing it.
Right.
Crazy.
Oh, well, Colin's over here sipping out of his one championship
Yes.
mug here.
One. Big respect to one man, I was reading that they're having some contract issues with the heavyweight champ Arjan Singh Buller, and it's interesting because we had Marcos Buchecha Alameda, new addition to their team. Actually, I think he's got 2 wins under the one banner now, and he was heading on a collision course
Right.
for Mr. Buller, and it would be too bad if they, if they were to strip Arjan. I hope not. Arjan's a really cool dude, really great Canadian.
Right.
We had him on the show too. But you'd almost think that if somehow they could not negotiate a contract and Arjan did jump from 1, I would think possibly maybe Buchecha might even be in the fight for the vacant heavyweight title.
I would think so.
I think that's not one of their deepest divisions. They're so great because of being in Asia. Not that there aren't some huge Asian fighters, but they're so great with a supply of guys that are 100 and especially 155 pounds and down. Just some absolute killers. But not so much the heavier weights. So I think Buchecha's in a great situation.
I have to give one credit where it's due, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they know how to negotiate a contract.
They do. Chatri is
they're not afraid to pay money.
No, they're not. And Chatri has got a lot of money, but he loves MMA. He trains all the time. They're actually the biggest organization in the world, I think, because of their reach. Now, in North America, UFC is way more prominent than One. One's
Right.
never had a single event here, but still a lot of people know who they are. They're on TNT, I think it is.
I say they're on free TV.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But in the rest of the world and in Asia and Africa, I think more people are probably watching One on a regular basis. And
I mean, I would think so in general. I mean, the stats show it, but I also know how a lot of the Chinese market does things with gaming numbers.
it could be too. Yeah, a little,
they're real big on that. And,
they're kind of swimming in the metaverse as far as the numbers.
no,
go.
they're not even swimming in the metaverse.
No, no.
Metaverse, you can actually track numbers. Speaking of metaverse,
yes.
check out lithtoken.io. They're doing some amazing things in partnership with 4D Fun out of Los Angeles. You can just Google 4D Fun, but you can go to lithtoken.io. Check out what they're doing with sustainability and ethics. Get on in the game. It is a DeFi project right now. I have a little insight to the fact that we are getting on a lot of centralized exchanges over the course of this next year. Can't name which ones or when or what prices it's all going to be launched at, but a lot of amazing things for lithtoken.io.
Yes.
Make sure to check it out.
Absolutely. And I love these DeFi projects, man. I mean, I would say if you put an NFT together with a DeFi project, you have a nifty DeFi.
Well,
So I'm just coining
most NFTs are done on DeFi.
They are done on
projects.
DeFi. That's
Yeah,
right.
Colin knows nothing about
I don't. I really
cryptocurrencies.
don't. I'm bluffing on this one.
He
What-
just looks at the charts.
That's true. And now, are those any questions? I can't see them clearly enough.
Yeah, no, there's no questions there. We got one person trolling us
Oh, someone came in
or
and
somebody.
someone came in and said some bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah,
Another person
that's-
saying let the bodies hit the floor, and I think they're referencing the Cyril Gahn versus
Ngannou, yeah,
Ngannou
that's
fight,
going to be
yeah.
crazy. That's such an interesting fight, man, and we're gonna talk to our other guests a little bit about that as well. And man, because what I heard someone say, I forget who it was. Someone described Cyril Gahn as kind of a heavyweight version of John Jones. And our next guest, Chris Brown, is trained with John for many, many years. Was friends with him and teammates. And I'm curious to see what Chris Brown's thought on that is.
Oh, I am too.
Yeah.
Out of all the people out there,
Yeah.
Chris Brown probably has some of the best insights there.
Right. I mean, he trained for hours and hours and hours with John, and for hundreds and hundreds of hours at the same time in the same gym. It's interesting. It's unfortunate that gym is kind of divided now, where you have Jackson Wink and then you have Jackson's. Shit happens, but both guys are still legendary coaches. Greg Yoda Jackson and Mike Winklejohn. Mike Winklejohn's such a tough guy. A lot of people might not remember, especially if you've only been fans of MMA for less than 10 years, but I think it was about 10 years ago. Coach Winklejohn was in his mid-40s, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was a former kickboxing champion, and he was coaching one of his fighters, and the fighter threw a kick, and the fighter's toenail sliced right through Coach Winklejohn's cornea, I think, or retina, and essentially just destroyed his eye.
Right.
And I think he's been fighting kind of without vision in that eye not fighting, but training people without vision in that eye for about 10 years, and he hasn't missed a step. He's constantly in there grinding and training with his people. And I think he's been wearing those goggles, though, those protective goggles ever
Right.
since. It's unfortunate that's, that's you have to do that after the fact, but who knew? And it's such a fluky thing. I think the same thing happened, funny enough, in that fight about 3 or 4 years ago with Megan Anderson and Kat Zingano. Funny enough, Megan was a longtime partner, or not partner, but part of the James Krause team, and she threw that kick, and the toenail went right in the eye
man,
of
that was so nasty.
yeah, of Kat Zingano, and that was built up to be a really good fight. Kat was going up to 145 for the first time.
It would have been if it wasn't for that fluke.
Yeah, and that happened 1 minute into the fight.
I know.
Yeah, so that's
I was so disappointed. I
yeah.
wanted to watch.
Me too. Funny thing about that is Kat Zingano is going up to 145 again. It's just been announced at Bellator, and she will be fighting Chris Cyborg.
And how do you feel about this one?
I feel good about this one. I mean, Cyborg probably
Well,
Cyborg probably
you feel
wins.
good about it.
I feel
right?
good, not great about it. I mean, you know what though? Here's what it is.
Who's taking it? I mean, really, just point blank, no explanation. Give me a second here.
I would think Cyborg takes it, but here's the thing: Cyborg.
That wasn't very good.
Well,
You have to give me here's the thing.
Here's the thing. Well, here's why. Cyborg hasn't really gone up against too many wrestlers. She went up against Tanya Evinger, who we love and we've chatted with all the time back when she was active. She had come off 2 knee surgeries, I think, one that was failed and one that she had to have a month later. And her knees were pretty much annihilated. She was in her mid-30s and she gave it a shot. And it was like a 2-week notice against Cyborg. Other than that, Chris hasn't really gone up against really good wrestlers that were her size. Now, I know Kat fought at 135 most of her career, but she's a thick girl. 145 is not crazy for her. She's a little bit on the short side, but she's strong. But she was a really good wrestler, really good. In fact, I think she was one of the few female wrestlers that did find a program in college and was. Well, I think she may have been an Olympic alternate or something. She used to wrestle under the name Kat Albert. And if Kat just bites down on her mouthpiece and shoots and tries to chain wrestle, Chris may be in some trouble. We've never seen anyone do that.
See how it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think she stands a chance. She doesn't have that walkthrough power that Nunes does. So I'm not going to call. Frankly,
it would be by wrestling. It would be by wrestling.
And I don't think she stands a chance that way.
Right, because Chris's jiu-jitsu is good.
Her jiu-jitsu is great.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, I think you're crazy for thinking that she has a chance. But hey, you think I'm crazy 99% of the calls I make.
That's it. Crazy.
I just happen to be right about half the time.
We're crazy like a fox. Some people can say about us, both of us. But I think it's a legit thought, though. I think it's just got to be wrestle. That's what Kat Zingano.
I mean, that makes sense. I get that strategy, but
yeah.
I don't think I think Cyborg's gonna make.
Yeah.
Oh man, she's gonna make out of that pretty easy, and it's gonna be a breeze. I think that's a first rounder.
It very well could be. You know what? I remember a funny YouTube video of Kat Zingano, I think from like 8 or 10 years ago. She was fighting 135 then. I think she even fought 125 for a while when she was younger, right? So she's not a huge woman. One of her friends or some guy who looked like he was well over 200 pounds, I think, didn't think a leg kick would hurt much from her.
Right.
Even though she had already been an MMA fighter for like 4 or 5 years, right? And was a strong girl. And so he stood like it was on the beach. He was standing near the water on the sand, and then she threw a brutal leg kick right in his outer thigh.
Right.
And he like he was in so much pain. He's like hopping around, going into the water.
I mean, you never know how much this is gonna hurt. Actually,
right. And women have strong legs. So if you
not all women, but yeah,
not all, but it would have been maybe smarter.
You and your overgeneralizations.
Well, hey, once in a while I like to give credit where credit's due. A lot of women's legs are stronger than their arms, though. That's not a generalization.
I just think women are tougher than men. I'm gonna say that.
It could be.
If you were to go pound for pound, just straight up, all across the board, I think in general, women are tougher as far as pain tolerance goes.
It could be. I know they like to say that, but I don't know whether that's true or not.
Well, I mean, they gave birth, so there's
true.
that. I don't want to even think about that anymore.
No,
let's change subject.
exactly. Anyway, I think we are ready. Are we seeing Chris?
5 more minutes. I told him 5 minutes from now, so we're good.
Oh, you
We're
told
good,
Chris?
though. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well,
So
our main man over there at the helm actually told him. He just texted me, and we're talking, and we're starting to get this production thing
I
figured
like
out
it.
between all of us.
I like it, man. You
It's
got
crazy.
the little
I feel good about this, don't you?
Yeah, Harrison, how do you feel about that? Pretty good?
Yep.
You see, guys, we have Harrison Ford running our boards right now. It's not Ford, it's Harrison something else, but he's like a Harrison Ford, right? Aren't you kind of?
Yeah, close enough.
He is definitely close enough.
We've had his son on here.
We did. Willard Ford. We did a good interview with him
yeah.
and Frank Trigg over there at the gym downtown LA. Really cool gym.
Speaking of having guests on previously, go back and check it out. All of our social media should be able to still look up on Fight TV, FITE.tv. It's free over there. But we have a lot of our past guests on episodes here on the Hannibal TV, and hit us up on at MMA Power Hour to keep up with everything, past weeks, future weeks.
Yep.
Keep up with us over there at MMA Power Hour. Real easy. Just do it. I promise. It's not hard.
Absolutely. And also, you're right, and you guys know we're wanting to make the show as interactive as possible. So if you have questions for us, let us know. We've got it on.
He's here.
And Chris is there. All
Yep.
right. And so, yeah, let's go to Chris since he's here. Chris, can you hear me? Chris, are you there? Oh.
Not, he's here, but I don't know that he can hear us.
All right. Chris, are you hearing anything? Do we have any questions up there yet, Adam? Should I walk closer?
No questions.
Okay.
No, don't ask me if you're gonna walk.
Well, I know it'd be like
You get up and walk towards there, and then you have no mic, and then
it'd be bad.
Everything flies everywhere.
we don't.
Colin's very not.
I'm very
tech
spontaneous.
proficient.
No, that's true. Technical, but it depends what type of set I'm on. But what I was gonna say is that if you guys want to interact with the show, ask Dr. Adam Roorda or myself a question. We're happy to answer. But if you do want to have us ask questions to guests, then just throw a tip in there, and it'll help our show.
$2, $3,
whatever.
It's fine.
$5, $4. Some people do $10, whatever, and then we will ask your question to the guest. And so we're excited to do that and let people know. Chris Brown, can you hear me?
No, again, yeah, here we go.
Excellent. Okay, and we got Chris, and so what I'm going to do is give you a proper introduction, Chris. We're already streaming here, but ladies and gentlemen, super happy to have this next guest back on our show, coming off an amazing win in the main event of the LFA Legacy Fighting Alliance. We're talking about the man they call Breezy and the Future, Mr. Chris Brown. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me out, guys.
You're very welcome. I was looking at you when you started your pro career, and I'm thinking we either had you right before your pro debut or right after. Do you remember? It was one of those. I know it was one of those.
I think it was before my pro debut.
I think so too, because you were undefeated as an amateur, and you were the king of the cage welterweight champion, right?
Yes.
Yep, I remember that. That's crazy, isn't it? And and it was awesome having you on there, man. And I tell you, man, you have put in your time. People running away from you for so many years, for so many fights, and then this pandemic and all this crap, man. I'm sure sometimes you were just shaking your head, saying, "Man, what is up with this? Am I destined to keep kind of spinning my wheels or what?" And I just like the fact that you just kept grinding, and they switched opponents on you in this last fight, and they made this other guy a slight favorite. So I was looking at that, and I'm like, man, I wish I hadn't gotten so many Christmas presents for people, because I didn't have any money left. But I was like, they're making my guy the underdog here, right? And I was like, what the hell, man? And I just I was just so happy to see you come through on that. But talk us through a little bit about the couple weeks leading up to that. Who was your original opponent, and then when did you find out about the opponent change?
I actually didn't have an opponent. They were desperately searching for somebody for me to fight. Nobody would take a fight locally. I think about almost 2 weeks out, they found a guy in Brazil who said he would fight, and they were going to send the contract. Then I guess he got COVID the next day.
Wow.
And pulled out. So it was looking like I wasn't going to get a fight, my manager called me and was like, "Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good." But then he calls me a couple days later and says that Steve's opponent pulled out because he was fighting one of my teammates, and that they were forcing him to fight me because me and Steve was originally supposed to fight in July.
Oh, wow.
When I fought Glacio, he was supposed to be my opponent, but he pulled out 2 weeks before.
Oh, wow. And what's Steve's last name again?
Jones.
That's right, Steve Jones, right. And then all of a sudden you're the main event. And how many days before the fight did you get Steve Jones as the opponent and find out you're the main event? 3 or something? 4?
I got a little less than 2 weeks.
Okay.
That I was fighting Jones, but I had already did a whole camp for him back in July, so we already knew what to do. And then I didn't find out I was the main event until the day before the fight.
Right.
My manager calls me up and is like, "Hey, the main event fell through, and they want to show some love for you always coming through." And they moved us up to the headline, to the main event, and we had a good laugh because they said I was the underdog.
Yep.
And we got a good laugh out of that because I was like, I don't know what y'all been watching for me to be the underdog.
I know, right?
We were supposed to fight in July, and he pulled out. So
yeah,
I didn't understand the whole logic in that. But we got a good laugh out of it.
Absolutely. Now, when you became the main event in LFA, does that change it to a 5-rounder or no?
No, it
Makes
didn't
sense.
change to a 5-rounder.
Especially because you wouldn't have minded it, right?
No, I wouldn't have minded at all. I would have been ready for a 5-rounder.
Did it not change because they don't do 5-rounders, or because the fact that you had originally signed for 3, they can't really change it up on you? Do they do 5s in LFA? I think maybe.
I don't even know if they do 5s.
That's a good question.
I think the championship fights are still 3 rounds.
Makes sense. Now, this man had never been stopped, and he did have a good record. He was a tough guy.
Yeah, very tough.
When you see that a guy has never been stopped, and this is something that I'd really like your thoughts on, because you've always been a cerebral, well thought out fighter. As a just a fight fan that is trained in different martial arts all my life, so you know where I'm coming from, but such a long time at that I kind of have some knowledge. I kind of say to myself, damn, if I was a fighter and I'm going up against a guy who's never been stopped, yeah, part of me would be saying to myself, perfect, this is going to be the guy that I stop, so that people will all have their mouths hanging open and say, damn, look at what this guy did. But then another part of me would saying, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't think that way, because I'm going to go in there and try to stop this guy that doesn't get stopped, and then I'm going to get all exhausted and all frustrated and pissed off and whatever. What was your mindset going into that, and what normally would your mindset be, and what you think a healthy mindset for a fighter would be when you're confronted with a guy that has never been stopped?
I honestly didn't even know that he hadn't been stopped before.
Okay, that helped. That may have helped, or maybe not. I don't know. What would you have thought?
My whole game plan going in was to get a finish.
Okay.
Somehow, some way, I was going to finish. I know he's a tough guy. He can take a lot of damage, so I was just going to limit what he could do to me and just break him down, and it worked. I broke him down, got him tired. He was trying to trade with me. I wasn't going to sit there and brawl with him too much. I'd have my clashes, then get my distance back, and then go back to breaking them down and just warring them. And once I started letting loose, I was kind of wasn't doing too much in the beginning of the fight, just breaking them down, getting them tired. And then once I started actually opening up, I started landing everything.
Makes sense. Had you known he had never been stopped in 10 fights, would your mindset have been any different, do you think?
Nope.
Okay.
I would still be going in there to get a finish.
Makes sense. That makes sense. And that
you have to take it sometimes, so it might as well be me.
Absolutely. And that was a great victory. Man, I mean, in all honesty, like, you could be like, what's your record now? 8-3?
Yeah, 8-3.
You could really be 11-0. I know you're not trying to make any excuses, but you had a couple of split decisions and one
Yes,
close decision. I mean, you really could be 11-0, and I think it's just,
definitely.
right. And you are that good, and I think you've just gotten better. And I mean, like, I was watching. I'm not going to throw out a name, but I was watching a fighter the other day who made like their UFC debut, and were really young, like a mid-20s fighter, and I just noticed a trend, man. A lot of these guys just don't make it. They get into the UFC at 24, 25, 26, and they just don't make it. They either lose their first fight and then lose their next 2 out of 3, or they win their first fight and then lose their next 3 out of 3. And because it's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. It's an adrenaline dump. Everyone's watching you.
Then
You
they're
know,
fighting. They're not fighting very good people. If you look at these people's records,
right.
they all trying to fight 0-0. They're trying to fight everybody with losing records.
Right.
Half their wins are against people who don't have more than 5 fights.
Exactly. And then they get to fight someone good and they're exposed. So
Exactly.
one of the things that I like about you is you're in the opposite position. You've been grinding, you've been fighting, you've been training with top people, John Jones and other people, Holly over there at Jackson Wink and a lot of other tough people. And you have experience, you have maturity. So you're just in such a great position, I feel, to be given your shot in the UFC. Now, I know there's also an option for the title fight in the LFA, but it seems to me like I really feel, from what I've noticed, and I like to pride myself on being pretty observant when it comes to seeing how things kind of work. I mean, it seems to me like you got to be on the UFC's radar right now, and it seems to me like probably they will snatch you up before any type of
That's what
contracts
I'm
are
hoping.
right are
That's what
presented.
I'm hoping.
Right, exactly. And so now, do you think that if that happens, we're looking at like a 2-week notice type of thing, or 3-week, or 4-week, or if you had to guess, what would you think the amount of time you would find out about a UFC fight before the fight might be?
Yeah, most likely it would probably be something a little short notice, but that's the way to get in. I know a lot of people who they'll just get pulled right up. They're like, hey, we'll just get you in there, sign you a contract real quick. And like, that's the main goal. So it really wouldn't matter to me who I'm fighting. As always, I don't care. I would just love the opportunity to be able to get up, and I definitely wouldn't have any problem making the weight.
Absolutely. Now, would you have any preference whether it was in the Apex with just some random expensive seat VIPs there and not hardly anyone else, where you can actually hear your corner talking, or that it would be somewhere where there are a whole truckload of fans, or would it not matter?
I'm trying to go and pack it out. I'm trying to be somewhere where we got a bunch of fans in there.
Nice.
Get a whole new fan base wherever. I love traveling and fighting in front of new people. Opening, people's eyes who don't normally get to see the things that I'm doing.
Absolutely. Now, in the LFA, do they have full fans, or was it kind of almost like an Apex type of scenario with people in the seats?
No, the last 2 events were full.
Nice. Would it throw you at all if it did end up having to be at the Apex where there was just 25 people in the seats?
No, it wouldn't throw me off, because I had to go through the same thing when LFA was putting on fights, like last year when I fought in North Dakota, when I fought in Oklahoma. They were all close fights too. So just hearing just a couple people that are actually in there, it is kind of different just not hearing the crowd, and you can hear your coaches and the other corner so clearly in there, but it doesn't make a big difference to me.
Very cool. Now, I know you trained for many years with John Jones and you're friends of his. I'm sure he's got to be happy for your victory over there. Speaking of which, let me, and I have to throw this out before I forget about it, because, as an interviewer, one of the tough things is there's so many things we want to ask fighters, and then at the end of the interview, after we say goodbye, some stuff comes to us. We're like, damn, why did I ask him that? I wanted to ask him that. So I'm going to throw this out before I forget it. I heard someone today say that Cyril Gahn is like a heavyweight John Jones. I really want your opinion. Can you see that in any way? And if so, how would that be? How would they be similar, or in your opinion, how would they be different?
Yeah, I can see the comparison just because of his striking, how creative his striking is, and just how different it is from heavyweights. Because usually heavyweights aren't the most technical; they don't have a deep bag of tricks that they can use, and they're not usually as athletic as he is. Just the biggest difference is John can wrestle.
Right. That's right. That's true. Gon seems to be get some jujitsu down. He doesn't have any wrestling, but he seems to have some submissions down. But then he submitted some guys that weren't necessarily high level.
Yeah.
It's kind of an
Yeah.
it's a kind of an interesting matchup. I don't want to take too much of your time on that, but just to pick your brain since it is this Saturday. On the one side, you got Francis, who is this great striker. He's a tall, long guy. He's a heavy guy, but he's in great shape. He's got tremendous power, and he's got pretty darn good punching technique. He's got Kamaru Usman helping him out for a little while, but that doesn't make a man from Africa and France into a D1 wrestler just because you have Kamaru Usman,
Right.
right? But I think he's got some takedown defense down. Although I don't know how that's going to come in handy against Cyril Gane, who probably isn't going to look to take him down, or if he
No.
does, it'd just be off a scramble. But nevertheless, you got Francis, who's got some beginner wrestling chops, and he's a great striker. And then you got Gon, who's got kind of like some intermediate, maybe submission chops. Tell me, how do you think this fight plays out? It seems to me like it's almost confusing about what's going to happen because you could think they're going to just strike the whole time, but someone may start to get the advantage with the striking, at which point you might think the other guy might want to grapple with them, or since they train with each other, is some ego going to jump in there? Are they going to be determined to just not modify their game? Like, what would you think both men's mindset is going into this? And what do you think maybe a couple of different ways this fight might play out?
Yeah, I think Gagne is gonna probably be confident, thinking that he was getting the better of them sparring or something like that, because he's a more technical guy. But Francis wasn't hitting him as hard as he could hit him in practice. So
Right.
that is the great equalizer right there, because Gagne can get hit. He goes long fights. He goes, the whole fight. I think in the last 3 fights, he won 2 by decision.
Yeah.
And against people that Francis knocked out. So if Francis lands it just has to be a glancing punch and it'll be over. I'm still going to go with Francis and the power.
Yeah.
The longer the fight goes on, Gagne probably has a little bit of advantage, but that punching power never goes away. So
Right.
Francis is going to get it.
Do you think anyone would initiate any grappling? And if so, which guy?
I would think Gagne will try to, if he feels that power, he might try to switch it up and try to take it to the ground, because that's was the only weakness that Francis was showing.
Right.
Is try to get him on the ground, tire him out. So if that's the only thing I can see Gagne trying to do.
Yeah.
Not wanting to trade with him, keeping his distance, and if Francis gets in too close, because Francis is going to want to close that gap. So if he gets too close, Gagne is going to try to grapple up or something.
Makes sense.
I don't think he's going to get hit.
Makes sense.
He's going to limit those punches.
Right. Now, how is it that a man who's like 6'4.5", 6'5", not that height matters, but how is it that like a 6'5" man who's like 245, 250 pounds, Cyril Gane, can't hurt people with his punches? I mean, I'm not putting him down. He's a tough guy. But how is it a big man like that keeps on taking guys the distance? Does he not want to commit to sit down on his punches, or does he just not have
Probably.
Okay.
I don't think he wants to engage like that. He doesn't want to sit on those punches, because he knows if he can land, they can probably land, because they're all about the same size. Most of them got the same arms.
Right.
So he's putting himself in a lot of danger. So playing the keep away game breaks them down and keeps him from getting hit too much. So it's a smart strategy.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting, though, for sure. Francis is a unique guy. Seems like a very nice person, and he's got a sense of humor. Gon seems like a wacky guy. If you're watching the Embeddeds, man, that guy's a funny guy. He's like,
Yeah.
he really is. He's a unique, funny dude, man. And good for France to start having some tough dudes. I remember way back, and this is back probably when you were in junior high or high school. I was watching like K1 kickboxing, and some guys were saying, man, this country of France has one tough man in the whole country, Jerome Le Banner. This was way this is way back. One tough guy in the whole country, and it's Jerome Le Banner. But they since then they've got some more tough guys
Oh yeah, they definitely got some tough guys. I used to train with two Frenchmen, my boy GT and Tom Fire Kid Duke and Y. They used to train with us. GT's been stuck in France because all this COVID stuff.
right.
But we spent a lot of time together.
Very cool. Yeah, no, they definitely have some tough guys now, and good for them because they came up and showed that it's not just about good food and wine over there,
Right.
right?
They can scrap too.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. So welterweight division, man, I would love to see you as part of it. It's very interesting, the landscape there. I think they just recently signed Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, and they used to be teammates. I mean, it seems to me like that fight's Covington all day. I mean, I'm not going to say Masvidal maybe can't light him up, but I don't know. Not to spend too much time on that.
He's gonna go in there and wrestle.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, he might try to trade a little bit in the beginning, but I don't think he's gonna be doing that too much at all.
No.
I think he's gonna try to get him against that cage and get him against the ground so he can stop those punches and kicks.
Absolutely. So then at welterweight, we got Usman and Leon Edwards. I think that is signed. If not, it's about to be, and that's a rematch.
Right.
That's going to be interesting, man. Leon's an interesting dude, isn't he? He's from England. He didn't grow up in the American wrestling program, but it seems like he's got some wrestling chops, and he's kind of a long, lanky Englishman, but he's got wrestling chops. He's got striking. His distance is good. And I mean, the only concern was that in the later couple rounds of that Nate Diaz fight, he started to get touched up a little bit. Looked almost like he was in some trouble. Although I think some people don't realize that Nate Diaz's cardio is so good that even though he's lost 4 rounds out of 4, he's still going to be coming for you. So was that something that maybe could be forgiven by for Leon, as far as him getting kind of caught, made to look a little bit bad in that last round, or is that something that points out maybe a little flaw in his game and his condition?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a good look, dominating for that long, and then he kind of looked like he slowed down a lot in that 5th round.
Right.
Wasn't really trying to engage as much and letting Nate do his thing. He should have kept the pressure and not give Nate too much life. And then he let the crowd get back into it because, they diehard Diaz fans.
Yes.
So he should have let off the gas. He should have kept it on him.
Absolutely.
For sure. And fighting against Usman, that's not a good thing because if he's starting to wear down against Diaz, Usman hits a lot harder and he can put pressure a lot better.
Without a doubt. Now, will Usman starting to kind of like his ability to throw hands, his striking. I'm not going to say he's fallen in love with his hands, but you know how sometimes wrestlers, like you're a wrestler who it almost seems like you grew up throwing hands or something because it's natural. Right. It's natural to you, right? But Kamaru Usman, it wasn't natural throwing hands, and he's gotten better and better at it. Against Colby Covington, the strategy was perfect. Against, I think, Masvidal, it was a good strategy, but against Leon Edwards, is Kamaru going to be okay to just decide, let me stand with this man for a little bit and mix it up and see how it feels, or would that be a mistake? Or do you think Usman's not really going to do that and he's going to threaten with the shot right away?
No, I think he's going to go out there and strike with him. I think he's the stronger of the two. I think he hits harder, so he's going to believe in that power, especially after the last 2 fights. He knows he's got power in his hands, so I think he's going to go out there and trade with him, probably mix it up a bit, get him striking, and then go for the takedowns off his striking.
And do you think Leon has enough to stop these takedowns at all to shut down Kamaru Usman, or probably not?
It just depends on how persistent Usman is.
Right.
I think that, of course, in the beginning, he might be able to get away from some takedowns or get back up or whatever. But as the fight goes, unless he changes up his cardio, I think Usman will wear on him.
Makes sense. And I know you'll be watching that fight with interest because you could be in there with either of these men in the next couple years.
To.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Now, also in that division, there's Vicente Luque. He's a pretty talented dude, don't you think?
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
think he's good.
yeah, and then you have Gilbert Burns, who looked amazing over Wonder Boy. Who was the other guy that just beat Wonder Boy? That was Bilal Muhammad.
Bilal.
And so Bilal is looking good, and then you have Hamzat Chimaev. What's your opinion about Hamzat? Hamzat has beat some guys that were, you just have to say, middle of the road. And
yeah, he hasn't really been challenged.
No.
He's got some impressive stuff, but I don't think the level of competition is as good as he's hypes it up to be. So it'll be good to see him fight Burns.
Yeah.
They signed that contract. So it'll be good to see how he does against Burns, because that'll put him right there in the mix if he's legit.
Without a doubt. You know, we need to ask you that last fight against Li Jinglong, the Leech, where he lifted him up from behind and walked him over to Dana White to say something. Could that have happened to anybody? Because I mean, I can't call names at anyone because the loser in that fight could beat me in about 8 seconds, Li Jinglong. So I can't call names to make anyone look silly. But how are you going to be able to have someone lift you up and carry you over somewhere? Is that something?
That means you can't wrestle.
That's kind of what it is, right? Because
because he had him in a body lock. All he had to do is put his hand against his neck and push away, and he'd have to let him go.
Okay, that's what I was kind of thinking, because you don't see that often, do you?
Yeah, because people defend themselves. He just gave himself up and just let him walk with him instead of defending.
That makes sense. So it's a lot of having your hands when you feel someone's hands on you, fighting the hands and breaking them.
Yeah, he could have definitely broke the hold or gave himself some wiggle room.
That makes sense, because that wasn't
scramble.
Yeah, because that wasn't a good look. You kind of feel bad for the guy being lifted, carried over somewhere. But
yeah, we trained together for a little bit too. When the China national team came over to Jackson Wink.
Right, and he's a tough guy. He's had some good fights.
Yeah,
but
he's a tough guy. We used to get a lot of rounds in when he was in.
Nice. But so other than those guys, I don't think there's a lot of really well-known guys. Like, a lot of people like to talk about 170, but to me, there's maybe like 5-6 guys there that are looking.
It's wide open.
It really is
the perfect time to be in there.
It is.
You know, I've got my friend Chaos Williams is making his run in there.
Right.
We train together. He just messaged me, waiting to see when I'm getting back to New Mexico so he can come out there and train.
I love that.
You know, I'm one of his best people to spar with, because he knows he's got to work with me. So I always enjoy spending time with him and getting better.
Absolutely. You know, he was training. Sorry to interrupt you, Chris. He was training over in my home state of Michigan at Mercy.
That's where we met.
Yeah, really? Oh, that's right. Because you were. Was that when you were over there to get the fight? Right.
The main event, and he was the co-main, and he got signed to the UFC after that fight.
Nice. Yeah, because he was training at Murcielago, you know, with Joaquin Buckley. And then my friend Curran Jacobs, the catch wrestling guy from Michigan, he was showing them some wrestling chops. And I think some other.
Yeah, that's where we met. After I watched him fight, and then after I won, I came back in the back. Me and him started talking, and he said he wanted to come out there to Jackson Wink to mix it up and try to learn some more stuff. So we exchanged information, and we would text each other back and forth. And then he started making his way out there. So he's been out there for about, I want to say, at least 3 camps now.
Nice.
He'll come out there for a few weeks, and we get it in. And then he'll go back home like fight week until he's got to go back, show up to wherever he's going to fight at.
Right. That's awesome, man, because that's a great training partner there. Man, I bet a ton of people like him would just be so happy to see you get that call, knowing how much you deserve it, knowing that you're as good as these guys, if not better, you know. So,
yeah, he messaged me after the fight, telling me, proud of what I was doing, and because he knows firsthand how much of a problem I am. Like we get some good rounds. Like we usually just lock each other in the cage and just go.
Nice. Iron sharpens iron, man, in that situation for
Exactly.
sure. Right. I know Holly would be super happy for you also to get the call. I
Oh
think.
yeah, she was one of the first people who sent me a text after the fight.
Nice.
Just and how she's proud of me and loves seeing me succeed, and just a lot of well wishes because me and Holly have gotten really close over the years. Like we're, constantly getting her ready for her fights and constantly learning things from her, picking up stuff. Like even when I first started, I would just sit in the cage while her and Wink would hit mitts, and I would just sit there and watch and start emulating things that she was doing because we're both southpaws.
Right. Yeah, she's so talented, amazing fighter, and then I know
Amazing.
and then
She's an
Michelle.
amazing person.
Yeah, definitely cool. Always heard good things about her. What year do you think it will be when she cuts that long hair?
Never.
Never. She's gonna have that when she's like 65 years old. You think?
Yeah, I don't see her ever cutting it.
That's long.
That's not cut it.
Right. I know that's her look, man. Everyone knows her as the preacher's daughter. Does she have anything signed, or is she looking at anybody?
I know she's starting to ramp things back up, so she probably will be fighting probably toward the summer.
Good. And then Michelle Watterson, another karate hottie's got something signed.
I think she's fighting in March.
And she's going for flyweight now, I think, right? Or am I wrong on that?
No idea.
Okay. All right. Because I think she may be.
But I know she's getting ready to fight. She's been back starting her camp up. If I'm not mistaken, she told me in March sometime. I think at the end of March.
Absolutely. And John is over in Arizona at Fight Ready training with Cejudo. That's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, Cejudo knows his wrestling. It's two. When those two guys walk down the street, it looks like the number 10. John Jones being the long one and Cejudo being the 0. Not that Cejudo's a 0. All respect to Henry. But one guy's 6'4", one guy's 5'3", But the bottom line is height doesn't matter as far as... and in a way that makes sense because John's probably going to want to be using his wrestling at heavyweight.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's going to be his biggest weapon at heavyweight, as being a much better grappler than all those guys.
Without a doubt. Do you think he wants the winner of this Saturday's title fight?
Of course, I'm sure he does. Like, it's just a matter of his thing is by if they're gonna pay him. So
right.
Who knows if they're even gonna fight, even with whoever wins. If John doesn't feel like he's gonna get enough money for it, I don't think he's gonna do it either way. So.
Right. And what's interesting? If Ngannou wins and he doesn't feel like he's gonna get enough money because he's
not coming back.
He's not gonna do it either. Man, can you imagine there'd be a lot of frustration in the UFC's part if they're trying to make Ngannou and John, and they go to Ngannou and Ngannou says nope, and they go to John and John says no.
Yeah, because what shit if Ngannou wins and then gives up the belt,
right,
and goes his separate way, I think they would try hard to get John to fight.
Yeah,
Kanye. I think that would be the only way for them to go, like the biggest matchup they could make, unless they give Stipe another fight.
Right. That's the question. John was always kind of a slim guy, but that was, I think, because he really wanted to make that weight. Obviously, he's not as thick a guy as his brothers, but he's big. I mean, my that's what I was saying. I mean, my point is that if his brothers walk around at 300 some odd pounds, maybe he's not necessarily that big, but it's obvious he's always been cutting weight to make 205.
Yeah.
Right.
He used to always would cut from 240.
Okay.
He'd be like dad bod, and that was before he started doing this training hard, to get to heavyweight. But I think the last time we were in the gym together, he was 255.
Okay. Now, he was talking about trying to be at some point where he's cutting to make 265 or 266. And some people are giving him flack on that, saying, man, why does he want to do that? Why doesn't he just come in at 250 or 252? Do you think, is that really true that he really wants to be walking around at 270 or 275, or is that just a bunch of talk, or what do you think is the smartest?
He said he wanted to be as big as Francis, if not bigger. So he was closing in on 260 the last time we hung out. So he was really pushing that weight. So I'm not sure how much bigger he's trying to get, but I'm sure he'll do it smart. But it'll probably be best like sticking around 260 and just being really solid instead of getting too big. But I think the weight will just help his wrestling more,
That makes
no
sense.
matter what he.
Sorry to interrupt you. That makes sense. I think so too. He's a very smart guy. So we got maybe about 4 minutes, 4 minutes left. Love to get your opinion. How about the co-main event this Saturday? Moreno against Figueiredo. Man, that's the third match. Even though Moreno has
Yeah.
won twice, the first was a draw. I kind of feel Moreno's got it. Even though Figueiredo is training at Fight Ready also, so he's over there with John and with Henry Cejudo. I asked our first guest, James Krause, who's not only a UFC fighter but has got his team Glory MMA and a promoter of his own organization, and I said, is 4 months with Cejudo going to all of a sudden make a Brazilian that much better, a freestyle wrestler? And James said maybe a little bit, but maybe not a lot, and probably not enough to be able to compete with a better grappler like Moreno. What do you think?
It just depends on what he's learning. I'm sure they're not going to try to overwhelm him in that 4 months. So there's probably some basic things that as long as he just every day for 4 months, he's doing a couple of basic moves. He doesn't really need, to do anything advanced, especially with wrestling. It's all about control. So if he can just block down a couple of, basic things, it'll probably help him a lot in the long run, just to try to fend off some of the stuff that Brandon's going to do.
Makes sense. So when you get up there in the UFC, obviously your first fight is not going to be against someone top 5. Probably wouldn't be against someone top 10, although you never know. But I know you're ready for it. Once you get a couple wins in the UFC, obviously your main goal is going to be the title. But other than Kamaru Usman, are there any guys of the following that I'm going to mention that you think would be fun fights, or that maybe you'd like to fight them because you might have a beef with them or you don't like them? Or let's say if we throw out Chimaev, Colby Covington, Vicente Luque, and Gilbert Burns, who might be exciting for those matchups?
They're all exciting fights. They're all good fights. I think they're all fights that would challenge me and bring out the best in me. I think I'm a better striker than all of them.
Nice.
Just because I don't think they're as creative with their strikes as I am. But I think all of the fights would be really good, and they would be fun fights, especially with fans.
Without a doubt. Now, out of those 4 men, or how about this, including Usman and Leon Edwards, and then you include Luque, Burns, and Chimaev. How do you rate them from best to worst, in your opinion?
Hold on, what was that?
So, so who would you rank from number 1 to number 5 if you have Usman, Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, Vicente Luque, and Khamzat Chimaev? Who's the best? Who's the not the best out of those 5?
I would say Usman up at top. I would say Leon next.
Then there's Luque. Okay, and include Covington also. So then you got Usman and Leon, and then out of Covington, Luque, Burns, and Chimaev.
I'll do Kobe, Luque, and Burns.
And Chimaev last.
Yeah, just because we don't know what he's going to do against the top 5. The other guys have all been, clashing with each other.
Makes sense. It's going to be some fun, though, man. I can't wait to see that happen. I got to believe, man. I just got to believe somewhere in the next 2 months, man. And it's going to be amazing, And I tell you, man, it's been great watching you keep doing what you do, keeping your nose to the grindstone, man. You've always had that great personality. You've always been fun to talk to. And we're behind you. I mean, like I said, how many shows are you still talking to that had you on before your first pro fight?
Exactly. We're just the longest running since we started our careers together.
We did.
And we're still going strong, and we both keep elevating. So it's great to see, our parallel journeys.
Absolutely. And do you see Adam? Do you see my producer? I don't know if you can see him.
He can't see me.
He can't see it, but
I saw him in the beginning, but then once I came on the screen, did it cut off?
Because Adam was always excited to have you on.
Yeah, Adam's a good dude. I know he sends me messages and stuff like that when we were through these years. So yeah, it's always great to see you guys doing great.
Thank you. I really appreciate you,
Back
Chris.
at you, bud.
Definitely, man. Well, keep it up, Chris Brown. You're gonna keep holding. Now in the UFC, sometimes people modify names. You have Breezy and you have the Future, and then on SureDog they have it as Breezy and the Future. Are you gonna keep that in the UFC, or are you gonna chop that up some way?
Probably keep it simpler and probably just go Breezy once we get into UFC.
Sounds good. Makes sense. Well, Chris Breezy Brown, and also as for the time being, the Future. And I remember I told you I was going to do this in the beginning. I forgot. I should have said in the beginning of this segment, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Future right here in front of us, and you are looking at him.
Yeah.
Chris Brown, can't wait to see you jump into that octagon. Congratulations on that amazing win in the LFA main event. Great to know you for 5 years. We're cheering for you like crazy as always. You know that.
Yes, man. I really appreciate you guys showing so much love and support over the years, and it's great to have us to continue doing this same trajectory.
Absolutely. We'll keep it up, man. You keep up the great work, my friend, and we'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Thanks you guys for having me.
You're very welcome. Anytime. Take care. And that is Chris Brown, amazing guy from the beginning.
Yep, and we're ready to go right into our next guest here, actually.
Excellent. And we are. Javier, can you hear me?
No, we're
we got to wait.
There.
We got to transition until Chris. Okay. All right.
There
we go. Javier, can you hear me? Javier Mendez, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Fantastic. So I will give you a proper introduction as we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Extremely honored and excited to have this next guest on the show. One of the most respected coaches in the world of MMA and one of the longest standing coaches as well. Head coach and creator of American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose, Mr. Javier Mendez. Welcome to the show, Javier.
Thanks for having me on again, guys.
My pleasure. It has. Yeah, it's been a little while, and we appreciate talking to you. It's always great getting you on there. I think we don't have video yet. Can you hit a video button when you have a second, Javier?
Oh, I'm not even showing. I was like going good. I don't get to see myself. I like that.
I hear you. I can relate. There you are. Fantastic. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming back. I think we've talked to you for about 3 years now, and I think the last time was sometime last year. So we're so happy to have you on early this year, man. So much going on. AKA has been around for a long time. It seems like when AKA first started, a lot of these other schools weren't there. I think American Top Team maybe was around there with you, but there wasn't any Elevation Fight Team or Sanford MMA or Fortis MMA or there wasn't James Krause's Glory MMA. There's almost no one. What do you attribute to the fact that you guys have been able to stick around this long and stay at the highest level?
Well, actually, we were back in the Militich days.
Right. Oh wow.
Shamrock, Militich.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Randy Quest, Team Quest. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's like you're going way, way back.
Yeah.
Any of those guys were even anything. No.
Oh wow. And you guys were in San Jose then? What was that in 2001 and 2 or 3 or something?
No, this is San Jose. All this time, San Jose.
Nice. And you had yourself and you had Crazy Bob Cook. Was he still fighting then, or did he just retire?
He was fighting way back then when I was helping the guys out. He was still fighting.
Nice. And were you calling it American Kickboxing Academy, but just not a lot of people had heard of it, or were you just kind of something else?
No, it started out as American Kickboxing Academy, and what ended up happening is because of the situations that happened with the Frank Shamrock Submission Academy. That's what it was, submission fighting guys. We changed the name to AKA only for the benefit of guys being able to get fights, because they weren't able to get fights under the other name for whatever reason. I don't know, but they were not getting fights.
Interesting.
Name to AKA, then things changed, and I didn't really get involved with the team aspect. It was Crazy Bob and Frank Shamrock that started the fight team. I was not part of that.
Okay.
I would help out certain people. I didn't become part of the team actually till Josh Thompson recruited me to help all the guys. That's when I really came in to help the team. Before that, I was not.
And what was that, like 2004 or 3 or something?
Oh, that was earlier than that. Yeah, it was earlier than that, like 2001 or 2000, before BJ Penn came.
Nice, nice. And I remember Josh Thompson. It's funny, a lot of people look back on a lot of the guys that were AKA, and I think for some reason people are forgetting Josh Thompson, but he was definitely a key part of the team. I think he was there with Fitch and other guys and Swick and a lot of those good guys. And Josh is a good dude. Have you stayed in touch with Josh Thompson at all?
Yeah, every so often here and there. I mean, he's really busy with the Bellator gig, and him and John McCarthy got a great podcast that they're doing. So, he's doing good. I keep an eye on him. He's doing fantastic. I'm very proud of him.
Absolutely. Very tough guy. I like that he's not afraid to speak his mind. Sometimes he has some battles with some high profile people because he just wants to say what he says, but he can say it. I mean, he was a high level fighter. I think he may have been Strikeforce champion. In fact, he was. I know he was because he had the trilogy with the Scrap Packs Gilbert Melendez, and they had some amazing fights. Speaking of which, you guys are not extremely far away from Stockton. What, maybe an hour drive?
No, we're further from Stockton, maybe an hour and a half. But Gilbert Melendez lives in San Francisco, and
Right.
he was actually training with us for many years.
That's what I
And
was thinking.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's only when Gilbert knew he was going to collide with Josh that he moved, stayed in San Francisco training. But before that time, Gilbert was training with us all the time. Him and Jake Shields. Jake Shields continued to train with us, even though, but not when him and Josh, were colliding. Only
Right.
when Josh was not fighting Gil, then Jake would come train.
Right. I mean, I think so many people would have loved to have seen Nick and Nate jump in there with you guys because the kryptonite for both of those guys has been the highest level wrestling, and they've beaten everyone except for the best guys. And here you guys have the highest level wrestlers. You almost wonder what would have happened if Nick and Nate would have said, let's go over to AKA, let's grind with these guys, let's get our takedown defense so tight that no one can take us down. But it just never happened. Was there ever any talks about that? Or
No. We were the enemy to Nick and Nate.
right, they didn't like wrestling.
When he had people in their category or the people that are in their line of fire, we are the enemy. They are not friends with us. No. It's only when maybe they're retired now they're cool with me, but before, no.
I see.
He's the enemy. They just, with those guys, I mean, hey, they are who they are. You got to respect and love who they are. They wouldn't be Nick and Nick if they wouldn't be who they are. And much respect to them. I mean, I respect their boundaries and what they stood for. They never changed for no one. And I have a lot of respect for those guys.
Absolutely.
Did it their way.
Without a doubt, they did. Like Frank Sinatra said, I did it my way, and they definitely did. And, it's good to know that Gilbert and Jake were there. It makes sense because Jake always had that wrestling. Jake Shields, really tough guy. And John Fitch, him and Fitch had some great battles, I think, in jiu-jitsu as well as in MMA. So they must have trained together for a time being, Fitch and Shields, right?
Yeah, John Fitch, Koscheck, Mike Swick, and many others trained with Jake for many years. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Jake still to this day does not need to give us a ring. Hey, I'm coming down. He can just show up anytime.
That's cool.
He's always been welcome here. He's never, ever stepped out of line. Jake Shields is pure class act.
Absolutely. 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 I've always liked him. You know what I remember most? That crazy situation about 15 years ago that was the first MMA fight on CBS television. I think you know what I'm talking about, right? And it was I think Jake had just beat Dan Henderson, which was kind of a surprise. I think a lot of us thought that going to 185 for Jake, that Henderson would have probably been his kryptonite. And I don't know what it was. I shouldn't say that, but Dan Henderson's amazing, but Jake just looked like he had his number. He was too young, too fast, and his submissions were so much better. I think Dan just had to be careful or whatever it was, but Jake looked amazing. And then after that fight, the legendary Jason Mayhem Miller made his way into the ring. I think he said something like someone said go in there, and then I remember what he said, that he thought it would be fine. He thought he would go in there, he would say, "Where's my rematch, homie?" And the Scrap Pack and the Diaz brothers would just smile at him or something like that. I don't know why he thought that, because that was about the craziest thing you could ever imagine. And they just started stomping the crap out of him. And I mean, it's a good thing Mayhem was a tough guy and a professional MMA fighter in his prime, because I don't think he took a ton of damage, even though he got stomped on and his head got stomped on. But I remember the commentators were up in arms because they didn't want this to be what the world saw with MMA. But were you there at that fight? No. Okay.
I stood on TV. I was laughing. I was like, oh my
It was insane. I don't know why Mayhem thought that
He made it difficult for all of us corners to not be able to go into the fights thereafter, because that was the one instance where all of a sudden now only two in the corner, only one in the corner can go in after the fights. And that was the Mayhem Miller fiasco. They created that, so they had to control it, and rightfully so, because look what happened, and we'll never see that again, because they're going to always control that cage entrance. How many people can go in and out. They're very, very particular about that.
Yeah, it makes sense, because I think the Melendez and the Diaz brothers just felt it was highly insulting to have him jump on the camera in Jake Shields' camera time and say, "Where's my rematch, homie?" And
those guys don't play. I mean,
No.
they're real, and that's how they are.
Yeah.
That's like I said. I have a lot of respect for them. But hey, I knew who they are and what they are. It's, hey, if they have one of my guys as right in the line for them, they're not going to talk to me.
No.
They might say, "Hey, what's up?" That's pretty much it.
Right.
If that, but that's expected, because I know who they are, and like I said, I have a high regard to them and high expectations of who they have been through and through. Nothing's ever changed, so I don't expect them to change now.
No, absolutely. Did you ever have any experience directly with Jason Mayhem Miller?
Yeah. He came down to train with us for a bit, way back in the day. Yeah, before that incident, he trained with us for a little bit, for about a week or two.
Yeah, he was a tough guy. I know he used to train with one of my teachers, Fabiano Ihai, years back when Fabiano was there teaching. Remember, he was in Huntington Beach with Tito Ortiz before it was Team Punishment, and Rico Rodriguez and a lot of other good guys. And then he said that he and Rampage would roll, and even though Rampage was much bigger than Mayhem would be constantly tapping him out and pissing him off, and they'd kind of get mad at each other and go back and forth. But Mayhem's a unique guy. It's too bad that finally, by the time he got into the UFC, he was kind of on the downside. Not only that, but he looked really bad at the weight. I hate a situation where someone finally gets their shot in the UFC and they're at a weight that's like 15 pounds lower than they should be at, because Mayhem had some talent, but he just didn't look good, but at least he got a chance to be on The Ultimate Fighter. Have you had some of your AKA guys be coaches on The Ultimate Fighter? I would think so, or no?
Yeah, they had first one was, well, Josh Kostick wasn't a coach, but he was the one. He was coach along GSP.
Right.
Cain Velasquez did the Mexico one, and then Daniel Cormier did one. Habib was gonna do one, but it didn't work out.
Right.
We've been quite a few of them.
Absolutely. Definitely some amazing fighters. So coming up, we have Islam Makhachev. Now, I hear people say Makhachev, and I see people say Makhachev. Do you know which it is?
I call him Makhachev. So
I love it. It makes sense. Makhachev.
Makhachev is probably right. The Hawk,
You're right, so. Makhachev or something, right? Because I know Cormier. It's fun when Cormier gets to interview you guys, because these are guys that he's trained with for so many for years, and all the blood, sweat, and tears. You can see how happy they are to see DC there about to interview them, and it's always cool. But so this is a big fight to me. Tell me if you agree. I feel like this fight with Makhachev and Dariush is reminiscent of what people were thinking 5 years ago the fight with Habib and Ferguson might look like, right? Because Ferguson was a 10th planet guy. He was super confident back then. He was on a killer winning streak. His jiu-jitsu was good. He was super unorthodox. He was super slick. To me, I see some similarities in this matchup. Do you feel the same way?
No. to me, there's really no history behind these guys other than they're great fighters. With Tony and Habib, there was a lot of history, a lot
Right.
of beat back and forth, a lot of injuries. What you pull out, I pull out, you pull out, I pull out. Oh, you did this on purpose. Oh, you didn't. La 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 la. And back and forth, and there's a lot of history there. So and then a lot of winning streaks too. That's the only thing these guys have in common somewhat is they're both on good winning streaks. But as far as anything else, there's no bad dialogue between these guys. There won't be.
No.
These are class acts, and they're just great fighters. Gonna go out and prove who's the best. And so yeah, no, I don't see any similarities. And also too, Dariush's jiu-jitsu is great. It's not unique in any way. It's just great, and his striking is very basic. Good, he's very good. He's a very good striker, good punching, good kicking. He's pretty much a total fighter. So it'll be a good test for us. But like anything, I'm expecting Islam to do what Islam does, and it's going to show everybody why he is the best. And it's just a matter of when he gets to fight for the title, not when he will get with the title. It's when he gets to fight for the title, not if he gets it. He'll get the title. It's
Right.
just when.
Absolutely, just a matter of time. So the odds maker have Islam about 3-1 favorite. Is that what you expected, and does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense. But like anything, right? I mean, we've seen underdogs. Look at Pena. What did she do to Nunes?
Yes.
Who'd ever thought that was going to happen? So this is MMA. One kick, one punch can change everything. One attitude changed or not changed can change everything. This is a very unpredictable sport. There's so many ways of winning, so many ways of losing. And don't blink.
Absolutely. I think, Javier, there's two camps, and people are in one or the other of the following camps as far as thoughts on this fight. There's the camp of the people that are saying this Islam Makhachev is not Habib. And then there's the other camp that's saying he's the second coming of Habib. And I would imagine your thought is more with that second camp.
No, I'm with the first one. He's not Habib. He's Islam. They're all different. He is not Habib. Habib is not Islam. Islam has got his own path. He's got his own greatness to achieve. Habib is Habib. No, there will never be another Habib because there's only one.
Right.
There's only Islam. So these guys don't follow each other's footsteps. Maybe they follow the trail to the championship, but they all have their own ideas. They have their own likes and dislikes, and they have their own style.
Right.
Islam is not Habib.
Right.
Habib is Islam.
Right. And
that's what I say that
makes sense. Okay, so to be more specific, I think some people, and you answer that perfectly because you make a very solid point. I think some people, though, in Camp A are saying there's a huge separation in the skill level of Habib than there is with Islam, and then the second camp is saying there isn't a huge divide in skill.
That's entirely different. Listen, there's not a huge difference in skill set. Nah, what there is difference is Islam has more tools. He's worked on more tools. Habib, when I first started training Habib only really wanted to box. He didn't really do very much. Box, wrestle, jiu-jitsu, sambo. Okay. As time went on, I got Habib to kick and do this and that more. Islam adopted that style right off the bat. So Islam is further ahead than Habib in that area. As far as dominance, I mean, come on, the records speak for themselves. They're both extremely dominant outside of one good punch that got Islam, but outside of that, he's been pretty dominant. If you look at his track record, how many rounds he's won, who's won a round against him,
Hardly
it might be very difficult to find anybody that's actually beat him in a round. So
yeah.
Islam again is a different person. He is not Habib, he's Islam. But in reference to what you're talking about, yeah, he is very, very close to Habib and better than Habib in some areas. And in other areas, he's not. But man, he's right there. And to say that they're far apart in reference like skill set and everything, that is entirely wrong.
Okay.
Because if it was that far apart, I would have never, ever made comments like there's only one person that's actually won rounds against Habib in sparring. And there is only one, and it's Islam.
Okay,
This is the only one.
makes sense. That's good to know. The toughest fight so far, it seems like, for Islam was Arman Sarukian. Will Dariush be an even bigger challenge than that, or do you think Sarukian will have presented the hardest fight even after this coming fight is over?
Well, not look, I don't really like making excuses because that fight was the fight, but let's put it this way: Islam was very sick after that fight
Okay.
for quite a while. So know that. So he was very sick. So I don't think that was 100% his toughest fight to date. I say that. So what will happen with that kid? I don't know because he's a great talent and
Definitely.
he's improved. And when they meet up again, if they meet up again, that'll be a different outcome. And as far as fight wise, no, not same results. I just don't think anybody's going to beat Islam. But that's just how I believe with my guys, and that's what a good coach is supposed to do: believe in their guys, and they know they can't get beat. And then we work on the ideas of what we need to work on to make sure they don't get beat. We don't just say those words. We have to work on drills, et cetera, and ideas, build the mental strength where they can go through all barriers.
Absolutely. So, Beneil Dariush has done a lot of training with Justin Gaethje. If you look at the Gaethje versus Habib matchup, which the first round some people arguably gave to Gaethje, and then he got finished in the second round. Some people are thinking that Islam Dariush could look similar to Habib Gaethje if Gaethje was a black belt in jiu-jitsu and had those skills. Do you see any similarity in those two matchups?
No, not really. No, just because Dariush he's a different type of fighter. He's not a blood and guts type fighter. He's a finesse type guy. Gaethje's just a through and through warrior, man. The highlight reel for a reason, right? I mean,
Yep.
he just Dariush is not. He's not the highlight reel.
Right.
There's only a guy like that, and that's Gaethje. So no, I look at them as they're different. They're just different. They're different. They're both great at what they do, but they're different at what they do great.
Absolutely. Assuming, and I know you do, that Islam gets by Dariush, who do you think he might meet next? If it's the winner of Gaethje versus Oliveira, who would you think that would be?
I don't really know. You know, um, it's hard to say with those guys, but I'm favoring Oliveira a
Okay.
little bit, but I don't know. I mean, that could be Gaethje all the way. It could be Gaethje right from the beginning. I mean,
Right.
you see Oliveira get hurt both times with Chandler, and then with Dustin, he got hurt in the first round really bad, and he survived Chandler, which was amazing. Surviving Dustin wasn't as amazing because he wasn't as hurt, but still, he survived the first round onslaught, and he came back strong. So you can't ever count that guy out, even when you think he's out. He just comes back, he finds a way, and he found a way that day 2 times. So he's amazing.
Absolutely. Who would be the bigger challenge, do you think, to Islam out of Oliveira or Gaethje?
Oliver.
Okay. A lot of people like that matchup too because Oliveira is so confident. I mean, you got to say Oliveira's got to be like Charles Oliveira 2.0. It's like, I know they used to say in boxing, you put that strap, you win that championship belt, you become 25% better because of just the confidence and the desire to protect what's yours. And Oliveira just seems like he's turned into a killer, and it would be really interesting because my first guest was James Krause, who's a UFC fighter as well as a coach for Glory MMA, and he said one of the interesting things that Oliveira does is the standing grappling is really interesting. Like, he's looking to get on people's back. He's looking to get, submissions from standing. And he's really tricky. I think that that could be a super, super interesting matchup against Oliveira. But I think some people are looking at Dariush as well. And this is something why I also thought that Tony at his best could have been an interesting matchup for Habib. And I think a lot of people feel this, and I'd love to hear your answer. A lot of people feel that some of your great wrestlers in the vein of a Habib and an Islam are beating really good guys, but some of these guys don't necessarily have a really good submission game, and especially off their back. And what are your guys going to do all of a sudden when some guys have a really good submission game, even off their back, and when your guys try to take them down and pancake them, that all of a sudden they're going to be looking, these guys are going to be looking to rip their arms off or, catch their neck. What's your thought on that?
Well, my thought is if they're thinking that, then they haven't been paying attention.
Right.
The team Khabib. I mean, they're grapplers. You think you're just going to pancake them and they're going to just, fall prey to your submission attempts? Come on.
Right.
Islam Makhachev was a 2-time world Sambo champion not too long ago. And the only reason why he wasn't a 3-time Sambo world champion is because he didn't pursue it. So that's grappling and that's submission.
Right.
These guys are experts at it. These guys are not just wrestlers. They're submission experts. They're
Right.
masters of what they do. And people, when you put the difference in that, like, wake up.
Right.
I've been watching it in my gym for years. People thinking, oh, this guy's this. Oh, go ahead.
Submit
Okay.
'em. Right.
No problem.
Right.
No, go do it. And I've yet to see anybody manhandle any of my Dagestani guys in the submission department. Anyone.
Yeah.
No one. No
Yeah.
one's ever been their size. No one's been able to do that to them. No one. Because why? Because they're masters themselves. And at one time or another, people are going to realize that, okay, well, you may think you're a better submission guy, but maybe you're not.
Right.
That's a fact.
Yeah, it seems that way. They're really aware. Which is kind of like a wrestler 2.0, in that so many of our wrestlers in the earlier days of the UFC had little or no submission knowledge. And like I remember the early matches when Frank Shamrock caught I think it was what was it? It was Kevin Jackson. Yeah. And Jackson just couldn't believe it. I think he was saying he didn't. He may not even have tapped out, but his arm was about to get broken.
He basically was about to get broken. And Frank Shamrock planned that. That whole attack. He told me, I'm fighting Kevin Jackson. I said, he goes, oh, no, Hab, I'm going to submit him. I'm going to let him take me down. He's going to do what all wrestlers do. He's going to plant all four. His arm's going to be extended, and I'm going to armbar him. You watch.
Yep.
I said, all right, okay, all right, no problem. And sure. That was the one time I wasn't a big believer
right.
in what Frank could do. And that's when Frank made me a bigger believer, because he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He let him take him down, submitted him. And after that point, I more or less was on his wave of thinking and how to approach fights. So as a coach, I learned too, and I learned a lot.
And that's really key. And, but yeah, the difference in knowledge of submissions between a gold medalist like Kevin Jackson, who didn't really know much of anything, and your Sambo champions from Dagestan is
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
These guys aren't wrestlers. They're submission experts, these guys. And Father's Plan, which is Habib's father, the late, father, he had a great strategy. And that's why I call Father's Plan, because it's materializing now, and I want the recognition to go to Father, because it's not Javier Mendez's plan, not Habib's plan, it's Father's plan.
Yeah, he was amazing,
Yes, he was an amazing humanitarian, amazing human being, amazing father. He's just everything. That's why so many people that know him have been touched by him.
Yeah, it was Abdul Manap Nurmagomedov.
Abdul Manap.
Yeah.
Habib named the gyms after Abdul Manap gyms.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any chance we see Habib back for number 30?
That's something he'd have to discuss with his mother, but I highly think so. No,
you don't think so?
I think he's so busy with the EFC, making that the world, going to be a premier world league, the way he's doing it. He's got so many business that he's making successful, and he's also a successful coach.
Right.
He's helping me coach the guys, and he's the leader. All the Dagestani guys, they don't do nothing without him. I mean, he nicknamed me the head coach, but really the leader is Habib. I may be his head coach, and I may have certain says, but the real leader is Habib with them. And there's no fooling me about it. I know who he is, and know what he does, and I know how great he is.
Absolutely. Last quick question here, and we'll wrap up in a minute or two. Some of the other Dagestani guys that train in the East Coast, I'm sure they all know Habib, and maybe at some point they've been in or out of your gym. But do you have any quick thought on like a Hamzat Chimaev or a Megamed Ankalaev? Both of them are looking like they're really killers.
Hamzat, he was with the management at one time, Habib's management with Ali,
Mhm.
and he trained with us when he just after the COVID, and I watched him train at the PI UFC PI Center,
Mhm.
Apex. I'm sorry, the Apex, not the PI, the Apex, and he was there with Latir Latifi, and he was working with him, and I was thoroughly amazed how great this guy is everywhere. I'm talking everywhere: striking, grappling, power, size. I mean, this guy he's got it all. We'll see what happens, when he has a stiffer competition, but I wouldn't be surprised if he steamrolls everybody.
Nice.
He's
Yeah.
got the attitude. He's got the ability to do that, and the other one, Magomed, is you talking the 205 pounder?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
It's him too. I've been around him more than Shemaiah, and I watched him spar. He's amazing. He's got amazing coach. They're together. They're not together, but they're from the same region.
Right.
Hamzat, no, Hamzat's from Sweden.
Right.
And he's Chechnyan, but he's Sweden. But the other guy, Magomed, yeah, he's been with the Team Habib when we were in Vegas. He was there quite a few times. I've seen him quite a few times.
Okay.
He's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing.
They really seem that way. And then I know Zabit Megamed Sharapov maybe is still injured and on the shelf, but he's amazing as well, huh?
Yeah, not only is Zabit, but also they have some other good fighters. Zabit's got some really, really good fighters that are trained at his gym too. Those Dagestani guys, they're warriors, man. They're great, great, great athletes that are trained properly. You're going to see a lot of, like I've said to people, we all talk about American Top Team, about AKA. We all talk about Greg Jackson. We talk about Sanford MMA. We talk about all these things, but what people aren't going to be not talking about real soon is Abdul Manap's gym. Is the top gym in the world. I've seen it, I know it, and I'm saying it. So I say it all the time when I do anything. I say that's the top gym.
Absolutely.
It isn't AKA. It's not American Top Team. It's not Sanford's MMA. It's Abdul Manap's gym in Dagestan. That's the number one best gym in the world that no one knows yet. I guarantee you, they will start. They will start. Last year, Movlid won the PFL title, which was an impressive way he did it. Who he beat to get the title, and trust me, Islam Makhachev is next. Umar, Ushman. I mean, there is so many coming from this region. It's gonna be unbelievable.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a believer. I'm super impressed, and I can't wait to see them all in action. They're lucky to have you as a coach. You're a humble man, but I think you're one of the best coaches out there, and I think they're lucky to have you. And I'm so grateful that you took the time here, as always, to come back and talk to us here on the MMA Power Hour. Javier Mendez, really appreciate you a lot, brother.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome. Have a great night.
All right. Good night.
Good night. And that was Javier Mendez, one of the best coaches in the world for so many years. I thought it was maybe 13 or 14 years. In reality, we're at about 20 years since he jumped in and started to get involved and work with, I didn't even know, with Frank Shamrock and Josh the Punk Thompson. Absolutely amazing guy.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
He's arguably the best coach.
Yeah, I mean, these killers. And like a wrestler who really knows his submissions and is a world Sambo champion is very different than a collegiate wrestler who just came out of college.
Right.
Even like a Gable Stevenson might have problems if he was up against a really huge, strong wrestler who knew 800,000 times more about submissions than
Well,
him.
yeah, I mean, the submissions part matters, 100%.
Yeah.
But you get the Gable Stevenson in there with striking, though.
Then he's going to kill him.
He's going to kill him.
He's going to steamroll everyone. But yeah, amazing. I mean, Islam seems like a good guy. We know Benil Daria. She's an amazingly great guy. It's going to be an incredible fight. We're going to see what happens. But I know we only have about
a couple minutes. I want to go ahead and remind everybody, head on over to lithtoken.io. Check it out. It's an awesome cryptocurrency. I'm actually the blockchain architect. Believe it or not, I actually do that on top of MMA stuff with Colin here. I'm the guy that stops in. Obviously, you see him doing the interviews, but I'm the guy that stops in and just hangs out while he interviews people. So
yes, and we like to talk to Dr. Adam Roorda more and more. It's my bad that this time the interviews went long. I was so excited to talk to these guys, but I love to talk to Adam Roorda, and I will promise you guys the next episode will contain more of some of the fun banter.
I mean, we're a couple of MMA holes, like somebody said in the comments.
Right,
here.
MMA
I loved it.
holes.
I loved it. It's like, yeah, you're right. We are a couple of MMA holes.
We are.
But you guys are amazing. Make sure to hit us up on at MMA Power Hour on all the social media. Also, if you're on the MMA Power Hour's sites right now, hit up the Hannibal TV on YouTube. You can always drop in there to ask for interview questions. We love your guys' input, but we always ask for a tip, and we love tips anyways. If you want to throw them out right now to these MMA holes sitting right here, we definitely appreciate it.
We would.
Colin, another amazing episode. 3 great guests. We got our guests coming back. We got our flow back, I think, and
Yep.
we'll keep it going through the rest of this year here. Coming at you from a Third Wheel podcast here in Los Angeles, and Colin, I'm going to go ahead and tap out.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Adam Roorda. I look forward to next week definitely having some fun banter with you, and I really appreciate all you do. Big thanks to the Third Wheel Studios. We got Harrison at the helm tonight. Thank you, Harrison. Mike's not here, but wherever you are, Mike, thank you for creating such a great studio here, and we love all the work you guys do, and Harrison did an awesome job tonight. I want to thank our guests in order of appearance. Thank you so much to James Krause. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much to Chris Brown. Appreciate you, brother. And thank you so much to Javier Mendez. Appreciate you, brother. I just want to say, go out there, spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. Let people know you have their back in this crazy pandemic, winter, cold, and everyone's sick. And, take care of your loved ones. Take care of your pets. Unconditional love is what you get back from them. So the kindness you give to them will come back to you in kindness and in love and in good luck a millionfold. So do that. And, just be good to yourself. You deserve it. For the entire team at the MMA Power Hour, this is Colin Crandall. And as I always do say for tonight, I am tapping out.